Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another of my year-end videos that I'm doing. A lot of people are doing, and I wanted to do a video talking about my favorite reissues. Now, we live in a time where there are just reissues announced every day. A lot of times we'll miss them. We'll watch one of our channels and say, oh, I didn't realize, that Jack B. Nimble just released an audiophile version of this demo he put out, and everybody's all over, up in arms. And I'm no exception to the rule. I fall into the hype and the peer pressure and all that stuff. But there are tons of reissues this year, and it's very hard to rank reissues because when we look at reissues, a lot of times, we get albums that are already readily available. We just get, a different cut. We get better packaging. We get an anniversary edition. Whatever it might be. There are all sorts of different levels of the reissue. The most exciting ones for me are, those big deluxe packages that come out with my favorite artists, as well as albums that we've never seen on vinyl. And I have kind of, a smorgasbord here of different records. Again, no real ranking of these per se, other than the fact, well, let me see, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Okay. Yeah, no real ranking other than, I kind of ranked the top 5. I think I had 15 records. I then remembered one more and just kind of made it 16. So there's not really a top 10, top 15, whatever. My 1 and my 2 are pretty clear in this list, but everything else is just kind of there. So let me just jump into it. Let me know what y'all think about these. Let me know which of these you've picked up in the comments. So let's talk. Again, no particular order for these first few. I'll try my best not to make this too long, but the Zombies, Odyssey and Oracle. Now, again, this is a record that gets a lot of reissues. The difference is this is the 50th anniversary plus some change version, but it's in mono. And we haven't received a mono pressing of this really since, I think, the first UK reissue in the late 60s. But the Zombies earned back the masters. They bought the masters back for their catalog. And from what I understand, we will be receiving pretty much their entire catalog newly remastered in the coming year. So be on the lookout for that. But this is the second of the 2 original Zombies records. Now, the first one, again, we're probably going to get next year. But this is the way that the Zombies recorded it. This was, again, a special edition. This is the blue vinyl. I know a lot of people had issue with this copy. I thought it sounded pretty good. Again, I'm not sure that I like it better than the stereo. I have a craft stereo copy as well as a couple different CD variants. But I'm going to have to give it a little bit more time. I'm just so used to the stereo version. This version, I don't know, it seemed a little bit condensed for me. And I know it's mono, but, yeah. Odyssey and Oracle by the Zombies. I do really enjoy having it, and I'm glad that the Zombies are able to make back some of the money that they were, pretty much screwed out of in their original configuration. So Odyssey and Oracle in mono. Next, this is a childhood one. This is one of those records that, I didn't realize that I really needed to have. But then it came out, and it took me back to my childhood. That is Rafi and his album Baby Beluga. Now, Rafi is a Canadian singer-songwriter, most known for his children's albums and home videos, his VHS tapes. I grew up listening to Rafi music. This is kind of a album full of, classic Rafi era, stuff from my childhood. Even though the original record came out in 1980. This is the, I want to say maybe the first time reissued, but also on blue vinyl. This is eco vinyl, and now it's kind of cool with the Christmas tree. I think it sounds really good. A lot of people have issues with eco vinyl. I didn't have any issues with this compared to other vinyls. The same. I said vinyls. I'm sorry. uh, it sounded very good to me. Produced by Daniel Lanois. Again, kind of just, very, very calming stuff for me. It takes me back to a really nice time in my life. But he does some traditional songs on here, like Deo, which, the Banana Boat song, Harry Belafonte. But a beautiful song on here that goes past children or anything. It's just a beautiful tune. Thanks a Lot, probably his most famous tune. Just a really pretty song. So Baby Beluga by Rafi. This was put out, I believe, through Craft Recordings. So I'm happy to have this in my collection. This album got a lot of people jazzed up because it's been a collector's item for so long, and original copies and early represses are so hard to find. But now they've, kind of been overtaken by the Rhino High Fidelity version of Buckingham Nicks, obviously Lindsey Buckingham, Stevie Nicks. This was what they were doing just before they got the call to join Fleetwood Mac, and they put out those, incredible Fleetwood Mac records. This is kind of a taste of what we were going to get sound-wise. A lot of people that I heard said that this album was meh. I really enjoy this, and I'll admit I did not know this album. I knew it existed. I knew what the album was, but I'd never heard it. But some great tunes on here. The song in particular called Crystal. Crystal is just beautiful. The first track, Crying in the Night, could have been an early Fleetwood Mac track. Frozen Love, Don't Let Me Down Again. Just some really, really good stuff. And Rhino just does such a good job with these records. Every month they announce, these high fidelity pressings, and they're just, fantastic. And it just sounded really good. I listened to this album a lot when it was released earlier this year. So Buckingham Nicks is another. This was one that, again, I didn't realize was going to come out, but I think after the passing of Brian Wilson earlier this year, his estate has kind of been, culling the archives, and I'm sure that we're going to be seeing a lot more in the next few years from the Brian Wilson camp. But this is the beautiful box set, Live at the Roxy, Brian Wilson and Band. This was around the time that he was working on the Smile reissue, which would come out in 4 years after this. This is from 2000. So you're not getting any, real Smile deep cuts that we would, see later. Like, he's not doing Heroes and Villains, which at that time was kind of a deep cut. But you do get, Good Vibrations on here. But this album is full of deep cuts that were not being played at this time. The Little Girl I Once Knew, This Whole World, Kiss Me Baby, The First Time, Lay Down Burden was a Brian Wilson solo tune, I believe. And then there's a couple of bonus tracks on here. I've done a video with this, but just, one of those beautiful, lift up box sets that, again, I had just bought the CD of this earlier this year. I bought it from eBay or Discogs or something, so I'd never heard it. And then to get this with it, remastered, new cover and everything, really, really solid. And Brian and the band sound really cool in this. He's having a good time. So I'm Live at the Roxy, Brian Wilson and his band. We just got word toward the end of this year that Universal Music was doing their own version of a high fidelity series. And this is one of the two that I picked up. Northern Lights, Southern Cross by the band. Again, classic album. You see it a lot. It's, a relatively cheap album to buy originals of. But again, a lot of times they are not in the best of shape. And I love the band. I don't have all of the band's catalog on vinyl. And so I'm like, why not get this? I love the band. It's so good. I think it's, probably my favorite of the classic era band records. I'll get that in there. Good gracious. But you got great songs on here. You've got Acadian Driftwood, Ophelia, It Makes No Difference. I mean, It Makes No Difference is, to me, the greatest band song, just with Rick Danko doing those high, mournful vocals on that track. And you do see him do that on The Last Waltz, which would be the final time that the five original band members would play together before they were to disband for some time before Robbie Robbie started doing his film career, and then the other guys said, well, we can still play as the band. Robbie didn't really sing the songs, but anyway, they sound really good. They're called Vinyl File. I got this one and another one, but this is the one that I'm going to showcase today. So the band, Northern Lights, Southern Cross. Some more Rhino High Fidelities. I'll try to go through these quick. This is an album that I've wanted for a long time. I got it on CD earlier this year, some VCLT. But this is so good. Wilco AM. And the funny thing is, I am not by any means a Wilco fan. The reason that I wanted this album was because it sounded so similar to Uncle Tupelo and, Sun Volt. Like, this was like the record with Trace by Sun Volt that came out after the breakup of Uncle Tupelo. And this is fantastic. Shouldn't Be Afraid is such a great tune. Yeah, it's just, Should Be Ashamed, excuse me. Just fantastic, like Southern country rock. I'll say Southern rock. More like it's country rock. It's not like Skynyrd. It's country rock, like, those alt bands that were coming out at that time. But AM by Wilco, I love that. I love to have it. And this is the aforementioned self-titled by Fleetwood Mac, also by Rhino High Fidelity. I never owned this album. Again, sue me. I know it's supposed to be an album that everybody has. But I'm going to tell you what, when I was listening to this, there were songs on here that, you hear all the time. It's got Landslide. It's got Over My Head. Say You Love Me. Rhiannon. It's got Crystal on here too, which was on Buckingham Nicks. But hearing the song Say You Love Me on here, which is a song I've heard a million times and frankly was getting tired of. This album made me hear it with whole new ears. It sounds so good on this. And yeah, I'm very excited. I know from reliable sources that Rumors is going to be coming soon. So I'm very excited to see what they do with that. But yeah, Fleetwood Mac, self-titled. Fantastic. And then this is the last of the Rhino High Fidelities for now. I actually forgot this came out this year. This was very early on in January. Ooh La La by The Faces. Another record that I've been looking all over for. I love the title track on here. Ronnie Wood, Rod Stewart, they were just, on all cylinders here. Even though this would be the last album of The Faces, it's just got a great sound, great muddy rock and roll to it. And I love it so much. And so it sounds great. I'm so glad to have it on here. Let me see. Yeah, Glenn Johns. But yeah, Cindy Incidentally is great. Fly in the Ointment, Glad and Sorry. Yeah, just fantastic. Ooh La La by The Faces. So I'm glad to have a copy of that. That's the only copy I'll ever need. Here's some others. This came out around Halloween. A lot of people, I like to talk a lot about Real Gone Music. Fantastic record label, kind of a boutique record label that puts out stuff that is not really known, and it never really had the reissues that it deserves. And this is one of those. This is Ghost Ballads by Dean Gitter. Again, I had never heard of this album before, and I always like to get their Halloween stuff whenever it comes out, the retro Halloween stuff, not like the really not the soundtrack stuff. But this is essentially just like British folk tunes done on a guitar by this guy named Dean Gitter, who sounds kind of like Burl Ives, or maybe some of those like more traditional like Chieftains or Clancy Brothers tunes. But really, really good stuff. He does a version of Finnegan's Wake, which I was familiar with. Um, but yeah, some good stuff on here. If you like that traditional folk and kind of creepy stuff, this is really, really cool. Ghost Ballads by Dean Gitter on Real Gone Music. This is an album that a lot of people have in their top, and I can see why it is. I mean, I love this man. This is put out by Kraft, who have really been doing a great job by doing the Tony Rice catalog. This is Backwaters by the Tony Rice Unit. This is an album that I think any jazz enthusiast needs to get. This has some beautiful acoustic playing. It's really Tony with his brothers, Wyatt, his brother Wyatt. You've got John Reichman, Todd Phillips, Richard Green, and Fred Carpenter also rounding out the group. But they do a version of My Favorite Things, which they kind of go with like the Coltrane jazz version of it. They do A Child is Born, On Green Dolphin Street. They do the originals on here are Common Ground, Just Some Bar in the French Quarters, and Backwaters, and Mobius Mambo. But just, again, beautiful. They package it up well. That beautiful black vinyl on the repress of the old Rounder Records label. I just think it's beautiful. If you like jazz, don't let it, oh, Tony Rice, he's that bluegrass guy. No. This is like, Django. If you like Django Reinhardt, but it's not Django Reinhardt. It's just beautiful instrumental. Takes you all sorts of places. Alex and Jason, I'm talking to you guys. Y'all need to get this album. It's fantastic. Yeah, the Tony Rice Unit, Backwaters by Kraft. Awesome. And then lastly, before I get into my top 5, this came out this year for the 30th anniversary. This is Oasis, What's the Story, Morning Glory. I got a really good deal on this. I wasn't going to buy this on vinyl, but with some credits that I had and a gift card, I think I paid like $17. This is like an $80 box set. And this is a top 10 album of all time for me. And I got to see Oasis back over Labor Day weekend. I mean, this has the album, the song Wonderwall, which is their big song, Champagne Supernova, Don't Look Back in Anger, Hello, Roll With It, all sorts of these great tunes from the Britpop Gallagher brothers. It's fantastic. I blasted this thing loud. It sounds so good. But the acoustic songs, they've got on side 5 and 6, on the third disc, they've got unplugged versions of Cast No Shadow, Morning Glory, and Wonderwall, all of which were on the original album. Side 6, they have Champagne Supernova is unplugged, but they also have a version of Acquiesce, which was a big concert staple this year on their reunion tour. So What's the Story, Morning Glory by the Gallagher boys. This was fantastic. It sounds great. Very happy to have this in the collection. Now, top 5. Again, these are albums that a couple of them were they're just like I had to get them like the minute that I saw them announced. One of these was kind of a blind buy that ended up being a really good blind buy, and that's actually where I'm going to go first. It's number 5. This is through Bluesville, which is an affiliate of Kraft Recordings. And again, those that know me know I'm not a blues fan. I respect the blues. I appreciate the blues, but it gets very repetitive for me. Plus, it's one of those things like, I don't really know where to start. You have all these guys that are called, Little This or Fat That or, Husky Boy this, whatever it might be. So I'm just like, yeah, it's all the same. I'm just going to disregard it because that's what we do, unfortunately. And we're not supposed to do that, but this is one of the genres that I do it with. But then I started getting ads for this and I started hearing it. And I was like, this is more like, country folk music than just like traditional, like my mama done told me. No, it's not like that. And people that know, and they probably think that I'm sounding ridiculous, but Mississippi John Hurt with Today. This is a beautiful record. This is one of those albums that I would probably put in the top 5 or 10 best sounding records in my collection. It sounds fantastic. I love his playing. It's that old cliche. It sounds like he's sitting there in the room. You can hear even like when he hits the wrong string on the guitar with his thumb. It's just like, oh, it just sounds so good. It's like you're hanging out with this guy and he's giving you a lesson in the blues and how to write and interpret a great tune. But song on here, Payday. I first heard that song with one of my favorite groups, the Wood Brothers. I've heard them do that. I'm Satisfied, Candyman, Make Me a Pallet on the Floor is just beautiful. It's just so good. A lot of people have done that. Karina, tons of people have done that. Bob Dylan's done it. Coffee Blues is really great. He's just talking about how good coffee is. His Maxwell House. Hot Time in the Old Town Tonight, which Leon Redbone has done. Beulah Land. This is a fantastic record. If you don't have this record and you're afraid of the blues like I am, get this. It is just fantastic. It makes me want to get Mississippi John Hurt recordings, which I will somewhere down the line, but very happy with this recording this year. Mississippi John Hurt today on Bluesville. Number 4, this is kind of a 2-part piece because we are just about in 2026. That's when we were gearing up to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the Monkees, the debut TV show and their first couple of records. And they have been under the guise of the Rhino catalog with Rhino Records. And it's been, just really, it's frustrating to be a Monkees fan sometimes because obviously they get a lot of hate, but also when they put out stuff, it's limited, and once it goes away, it vanishes, and so we can't get a hold of this stuff. Well, I came into the Monkees game late. It's been about 9 years since I really became a Monkees fan, and by that time, a lot of these reissues had kind of come and gone, and I missed out on them. But what I'm talking about is this is the last of the box sets that came out for the original Monkees catalog, and that was for Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, and Jones Limited. This was the Monkees' 4th record. It was their 2nd album where they kind of took full control of their creative decisions. Though they're not playing every instrument on here like they were doing with Headquarters mostly. They've got more of their tunes on here, more of the original tunes. Michael Nesmith is all over this record. Great stuff on here. Famous songs on here. Pleasant Valley Sunday, The Door in the Summer, Love is Only Sleeping, Cuddly Toy, Words. Just What Am I Doing Hanging Around, one of my favorite tunes, the Michael Martin Murphey tune. But yeah, absolutely fantastic. Monkees box set there. So this is the first Monkees album that was, after the fact that they had kind of taken control of their music, and it just ends up being a really good collection of pop tunes. This was, again, a long time coming. This has kind of been a series that's been ongoing for about 20 years. And the fact that they finally put this out, Andrew Sandoval, who's been curating the Monkees music now for so long, put this together. I only have one of the other box sets that came out last year, I guess. They did Headquarters. So those are the last 2 that were needed to do this series. So very happy to have 2 of these. Again, as I was saying earlier, a lot of those early ones are harder to come by these days. They're collector's items, they're high dollar, and just, I wish that they would redo them or just reissue them. It's hard to say if they're going to do that or not. But yeah, Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, and Jones. And with that, which was neat, Rhino also put out a high fidelity of Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorns, and Jones Limited, which is great because the Monkees catalog was being curated by Run Out Groove, which is kind of now defunct. And then we got Headquarters last year, and now Pisces. It's interesting that they didn't do this in the same kind of format that they put out those other records where they were 2 record sets. Even Headquarters, which came out at the same time as the box set, they did it as a double record. This is just a single in the format of the High Fidelity series. But my understanding is that the rest of the Monkees catalog has been given the same treatment, and we should be expecting it probably trickling out in the next couple of years. So very exciting to fantasize over that. But anyway, Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorns, and Jones is number 4. Number 3, again, this was awesome when it came out. Still is. This is Nebraska, Bruce Springsteen, technically called Nebraska 82. It's a box set, CD set. It also came out on vinyl, but I got the CD. Remastered album. It's got some really, really good stuff. It's one of those box sets that doesn't have any kind of filler in it. It's all good stuff. They have a version of Electric Nebraska, which a lot of fans thought was, didn't exist, where he plays the songs with the E Street Band. And then they have, live concerts. They get alternate songs, early versions of songs that would end up on Born in the USA. So Nebraska 82, it kind of came out in conjunction with the film, with Jeremy Allen White from earlier this year. But this is really good. I know a lot of people got this and were really impressed with it. But yeah, Nebraska 82, absolutely loved it. It's my number 3 because it sounded just so good, and it gave me a new love of the record. Number 2, again, the number 2 was again something else that we were kind of waiting for something like this to come out, but it had been a couple of years since we really got this kind of format from this artist, and I'm talking, of course, about Bob Dylan and his box set Through the Open Window. This compiles songs from 56 through 63. This is stuff that dates back to his days in Minnesota playing with a band. It's got stuff of him, in the coffee shops in New York and Greenwich Village, playing in, different apartments and, all these just nooks and crannies that Dylan was, anywhere that he could get a gig. It's that kind of stuff. So you've got stuff on here that you'd recognize, a lot of those old covers that came out on the first Dylan record. You've got stuff that goes all the way up to him playing in 1963 in Washington and New York City. But you've got, Oxford Town, John Birch, Paranoid Blues, Let Me Die in Your Footsteps, which is a beautiful tune, Bob Dylan's Blues, Baby I'm in the Mood for You, Mixed Up Confusion, which is kind of like, we talk about Dylan going electric in 66. Check out Mixed Up Confusion. He went electric in 1962. But yeah, just a fantastic set. It's always great to get a new Dylan series because you get this beautiful book. You get the, multiple CDs. This has 8 CDs. Disc 7 and 8 are the complete Carnegie Hall concert from 1963 in New York. Yeah, just a fantastic box set from Bob, and I was just really impressed with it. Again, it's a lot, but to me, it's not like, you're not getting 100 versions of the same song. It's a lot of different stuff. So it might take you a few days, it took me a few days to get through it, but it's well worth it. And you, again, feel kind of that early growth of Bob Dylan coming out of the city and the coffee shop. So Through the Open Window, the complete, the bootleg series, volume 18, 1956 through 63, this was fantastic. But my number 1 by a long shot, this was so exciting to me. It took a long time to get it. There were delays. People had sold out, and I think they didn't realize how popular this was going to be. And it was just a complete surprise to me. And, I don't know that we'll get other sets like this by this artist, but very thankful for this. The Making of 5 Leaves Left by Nick Drake. This blew my mind. Obviously, very reclusive Nick Drake. He only put out 3 studio records in his lifetime before passing away in his 20s. But this is the first of those 3. This was kind of done in conjunction with the Drake estate as well as Joe Boyd, the original producer. But this is the CD set. I have the vinyl as well, but you just have these beautiful, recreations of the sleeves. You've got, all of these home recordings, alternate takes that, again, Nick Drake has such a small catalog. To get a new note from Nick Drake is just, again, a marvel. Some of this had been put out earlier on like Time and No Reply and those other early comps. But this, to me, is just a perfect box set. It's everything that you want in a box set. It does have a version of the album as well, but it's set up so well where each of the discs, each of the records, you can see the color gets darker and darker until it gets to the actual record itself. So you're supposed to listen to this and then conclude with listening to the record, because this really is about the making of the album, the making of 5 Leaves Left by Nick Drake, and I think it is just absolutely perfect. It's still available. It has sold out a couple different times, and I don't know how long it's going to stick around. But there is a CD and a vinyl format of this. You can buy it through any really retail. I think you can get it through Walmart on their website. But again, if you love Nick Drake, if you love that, early, precursor to, the Elliott Smiths of the world and all that stuff, please don't let this one slip by you. I think it was fairly reasonably priced. This was a birthday gift from my sister, but it was one that I was like, hey, I want this for my birthday. So The Making of Five Leaves Left by Nick Drake is my #1 reissue of 2025. So that does it for me. Thank you all so much for watching. Throughout the year, let me know what you think. Let me know which of these box sets and or reissues you slept on, the ones that you prefer, all those things. Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear about your list, and maybe there's some stuff that I missed too. So that does it for me. In the meantime, y'all be good, take care, and we will see you on the next one.